The Braves staving off elimination last night and forcing this fourth game, now trying to get it back to Los Angeles for Game 5. Joe Davis with a Hall of Famer John Smoltz. So the Braves get shut out over the first two games. A few things go right early for them yesterday, and it sets up a really interesting game today. And such is the nature where everything's magnified in these 5-game series.
Yeah, and that's for sure. On paper, look, the Dodgers are the favored team. They have the roster, they have the experience, but in a 5-game series, there's no such thing. It could be a flip of the coin. So for the Braves, they need chaos. They need things to happen that aren't prototypical, and that's what happened yesterday. It was one of those games when you think about the hottest pitcher on the Dodgers loses command and walks the pitcher with the bases loaded. You rarely see that, and then his command faltered again with Acuna up there. A 3-0 pitch that would have been ball 4 was called a strike. Okay, no big deal, he gets back in it, but it was a big deal because the next pitch was hit for a grand slam. So a 5-0 lead for the Braves looks good, but the Dodgers, as the Dodgers do, crawl back into the game. Then it was the 9th inning, kind of uncharacteristically, first and second, nobody out, 3-0 to Muncy. He works his way back for a strikeout, then gets Machado, and then for the trifecta, he strikes out Dozier, and those are the kind of things that need to happen for the Braves. Momentum is a little bit tilted. Even though the Dodgers have all the experience, the Braves need for this to get going, and Foltynewicz is going to be given that second chance. The first game was not his prototypical year and/or game, so the Braves' best pitcher is going to have to be the best pitcher on the field today if they have any chance to force Game 5.
As far as the Dodgers go, this is obviously not a must-win, but it's pretty close to it. Los Angeles doesn't want to have to go back to LA to play Game 5 Wednesday.
No, they really don't, because then it really messes with all of future starters that they've got lined up. But what they have to do is offensively maybe get a little more help with runners in scoring position. Their offense is built around the home run, and everybody knows that. But can that formula continue? Can they hit enough home runs to go all the way to the World Series? And for their starter, Rich Hill, he's as hot as it gets when it comes to September. He's 5-0, and his team responds by getting him a lot of runs. So Rich Hill, another quality left-hander, hoping to silence the Braves' bats.
Go from a 23-year-old rookie in Walker Buehler to the 38-year-old Rich Hill. Isn't baseball a beautiful thing? And it's hard to beat October. The Braves avoid elimination with a dramatic win yesterday. Now we've got Game 4. Los Angeles and Atlanta coming up on FS1. Welcome back to the NLDS presented by Doosan on FS1. And before Game 4, we go down to Tom Verducci.
Thanks, Joe. Well, the Dodgers know they cannot let happen today what happened last night. Getting beat by Freddie Freeman, especially on a first pitch. Last night they brought in Alex Wood to face Freeman in a tie game. Wood had thrown more than 1,200 breaking balls to lefties in his career and never allowed a home run. Freeman sat on breaking ball and did not miss it. He's a career .413 hitter on first pitches, the best in the last 30 years. Today, the Dodgers have instructed their pitchers when Freeman steps in the box, treat it as if the count is 0-2. Now here's Ken Rosenthal.
Tom, Manny Machado has one big hit in this series, two-run homer in Game 2, but otherwise he's 0 for 11. Go to 2 strikes, admittedly the most difficult situation for a hitter, and he's 0 for 7 with 7 strikeouts. Machado clearly is chasing, but he's putting on a brave public face telling me, I'm going to keep being me. I might strike out, but I'll hit their mistakes. Privately, the Dodgers expect him to be more selective starting today.
All right, Kenny, and he's part of this lineup against Mike Foltynewicz for the Dodgers in Game 4. Batting behind Jock Peterson and Justin Turner, Max Muncy, who has been on a tear. Grandal's the protection for Machado, then Kike Hernandez in second, Cody Bellinger roams center field, and Yasiel Puig is in right. The Dodgers' best defensive lineup across the outfield. How often, John Smoltz, does a guy get a second chance in short order like Mike Foltynewicz?
Well, that's exactly what he's getting, and he has to be much better than he was with his secondary stuff. Look for the slider tonight to be much more comfortable and less amped up than he was in Game 1 on the road, pitching at home, and hopefully he'll be able to pitch some innings for the Braves to have a chance. Off we go in Game 4 with ball 1. Game 1 started with Jock Peterson homering against Mike Foltynewicz. Yeah, an 0-2 count where he tried to climb the ladder on a fastball. Really impressive at bat for Peterson in the 9th inning last night. 10 pitches against Arodys Vizcaíno. Ended it with a base hit to right. Opening the game here in the driver's seat with a 2-0 count. And strike 1. He's staying stubborn out there with the fastball. All 3 of those are off the plate, but the third one, he gets the called strike. That's good for a pitcher if he can command that side of the plate. On a 2-1 pitch, Peterson watches ball 3 drift away. The first off speed that he throws. Dodgers, the #1 offense in the National League this year. Just a touch under 5 runs per game. Peterson swings and misses at a fastball, and the count is full. Yeah, one of the things that the Dodgers do well all year, and really uncharacteristically, the Braves won a game giving up 9 walks yesterday and 2 home runs. That formula will not continue to be successful. Got to pitch in the strike zone with stuff and keep as many runners off the base for that powerful lineup that they have at. Peterson leading off, and they check. He went. 1 gone. So that's a great sign. A 3-2 slider. That's the slider that is so difficult to hit throughout the entire baseball that faced Mike Foltynewicz, and he had the confidence to throw it on a 3-2 pitches, which most of these young pitchers that come in for the Braves have not had that confidence and or experience. And so the 2-0 pitch for a strike got him back in the count, but it's that 3-2 slider. Watch the slider today to determine the success for Foltynewicz and the Braves. So he strikes out Peterson, and now it's Justin Turner, who smacks one to right center field. He gets him on 1 pitch with Enciarte. Well, this is already off to a whole lot better start than Game 1 when the first 3 reached. 2 up and 2 down. I'm just telling you, having experienced things like this, obviously in baseball, but in other things, you don't know what you don't know. And once you get in and absolutely learn from some of the previous experiences, and of course that shortened game, I guarantee you his breathing and approach will be a little bit different than it was in Game 1. So 2 gone, and here's Muncy with his home run last night. Tied the game for the Dodgers in the middle innings. He's homered in 4 of his last 5 games back to the end of the regular season. He just doesn't miss his pitch. It's one of the most impressive things I've watched. It almost as if he knows what's coming. And a rare swing and miss on a fastball when he got ahead in the count in the 9th inning, 3-0. And then ended up striking out on a 3-2 pitch.
The 1-0 is a little bit low in ball 2. He's kind of like the perfect snapshot of what this Dodger offense is, right? The high home run totals. He doesn't chase. High walk totals. Somebody that wasn't even in the organization until last spring. On a 2-0 pitch, takes one that's not close, 3-0.
But it is amazing that he has stayed disciplined with little experience in these moments. Like I haven't seen him expand yet. And right here, 3-0, he will swing if it's in a coffee cup zone that he's looking for.
See if he finds it there. Instead, it's ball 4. The Dodgers have their first base runner today. So a 2-out walk. And up comes Manny Machado. He's had a rough go of it so far. 1 for 12. He's got a home run, but also got 7 strikeouts.
He does. He's expanded. He's actually been a little jumpy, trying to make something happen, trying to check into this offense where everybody else has been a little bit more locked in. But you know this is not going to continue. If the Dodgers get to play throughout October, watch the numbers change for Manny Machado.
That's hit hard by a diving Camargo and into the left field corner. Muncy's on his horse. He'll head for the plate. And Manny Machado with a 2-out RBI double. The Dodgers lead it 1-0.
Two outs has early got Fulte here with, we just talked about Machado, but I want you to watch. Acuna never sees this ball. He never sees the ball in time. This ball's hit down the line past the third baseman. But watch how late Acuna has to reacting to the ball, and that could be the difference between getting to it and the run scoring.
Which it does all the way from first, and the Dodgers plate one here in the first against Fulton-Evich. And now it's Yasmani Grandal, very similar to the second inning of game 1, where Fulton-Evich retired the first 2. Got to 2 strikes on Jock Peterson, hit him, walked Turner, and then gave up the back-breaking 3-run homer to Muncy. Said he thought about that sequence all night, the entire trip home from Los Angeles. But it bites him with 2 strikes again here in the first.
You know, it sounds like a broken record because I keep repeating the same thing, but in the playoffs, you have to pay attention to every detail. You can't take your foot off the gas at all, even if it's a 2-out walk, even if you intentionally walked a guy or pitched around him. It is so much more locked in from every aspect. Hitters give way at bats in a regular season probably 25% of the time. And then come late in the game, they don't give any at bat away. Well, in the postseason, they don't give anything away, and the fans, everybody knows it's that much more important. So you can never think that you're about to get out of an inning. You've got to finish everything off.
You saw there, scoring first has been everything in this postseason so far. Grandal down on strikes with a slider to finish the inning. But a 2-out walk to Muncy is followed by a Manny Machado double, and the Dodgers have a run before the Braves bat. Braves line up here for game 4 that'll have to come from behind tonight with the youngsters at the top of the order, Acuna and Albies, then the veterans Freeman and Markakis, Camargo looking for his first hit of the series, Flowers, Inciarte, and Culberson. And it's Acuna Jr. to lead things off for Atlanta against the 38-year-old Rich Hill.
I tell you what, Acuna's in scoring position lately when he steps in the box on the first pitch. He's done a lot of damage. But Rich Hill is going to see a lot of variations of arm angles. He's got 2 basic pitches he likes to throw. Fastball, curveball, but he'll change the angle 2 and 3 different ways, so it's like having 6. Fastball command up in the zone is going to be huge. If he can get the Braves to swing at that pitch, they're in trouble.
His first pitch of the day misses. It's 1-0. He saw Atlanta in late July and fired 7 shutout innings in this ballpark. Acuna with the biggest swing of this series for Atlanta. Grand slam in the 2nd inning last night. 1 ball, 1 strike. Player resume sponsored by Indeed.com. Youngest player in postseason history to hit a grand slam. Past Mickey Mantle, who did it as a 21-year-old in the 1953 World Series against the Dodgers. Acuna did it at 20, and then after the game, you know, Mickey Mantle, I think it was before I was even born, never heard of him. We need a history lesson. Freddie Freeman joked around after the game that he'll make sure he pulls Ronald aside, schools him up on that. 1-2.
Now Rich Hill has a unique follow through. He pitches off the third base side of the rubber, which creates a different angle for the hitter. Throws across his body.
Swatted to the left side where Hernandez, the second baseman, was shifted, and Acuna's out number 1.
You'll notice when he throws every once in a while, the way he finishes, the effort he finishes, it looks like his leg comes through as a field goal kicker to kick a field goal at the end of his delivery.
It's fun to watch.
Smart guy that his career really has been turned around, and it's a wonderful story, and he signs a contract with the Dodgers, and he's had remarkable fortunes later in his career.
This is a guy at the start of his career, Ozzie Albies. First pitch curve is inside. It's 1-0. Rich Hill is in his 14th major league season with his 10th different organization. Debuted back in 2005 with the Cubs. All kinds of injury issues, shoulder surgery, Tommy John. Was a sidearm reliever for a few years. Notice that he pitched for the Angels in 2014. Well, he did, but he recorded as many outs for the Angels as I did. That's flied to left center field. Cody Bellinger's under it. 2 gone. Yeah, he pitched in 2 games, didn't record it out, quickly was released. He was home in Massachusetts throwing a ball against the wall at his school, his old high school. And a couple days later, he was signed by the Yankees, pitching in Yankee Stadium against David Ortiz. And now he gets Freddie Freeman with 2 gone here in the first.
The journey's been an incredible one, and here he is, his 2nd straight postseason with the Dodgers.
Freeman off the end of the bat, short center. Bellinger won't get there. Freeman hangs on with a 2-out single. As aggressive as there is on the first pitch, which we saw in his game-winning home run last night, like Tom Verducci talked about off of the top. That's how he gets aboard here.
Well, normally when a ball is in the air that long, somebody's getting it, but Bellinger, and even his great closing speed, was playing so deep that coming in, he couldn't quite get to it in time, and holds Freddie Freeman to a single.
So it keeps the inning alive for Nick Markakis, whose second half swoon has continued here into October. 1 for 10 in this series. All-star during the first half, but didn't have a day off during the regular season, and you wonder what kind of effect that's had on him down the stretch. Oh! 1-0.
Well, Markakis, much like Freddie Freeman, really doesn't mind a left-hander on the mound. He stays in there. Power numbers won't be as good, obviously, but he stays in tough on left-handers and usually makes contact. And there's the kind of sidearm version for Rich Hill. I would say the only thing that time to time he gets a little bit too happy with that angle and can actually bring in some success for the hitter with his breaking ball, because he'll throw his breaking ball from down there, which creates a different look, but that one can tendencies to hang it from time to time.
A tight zone there from Tom Hallion, and he's behind Markakis 3-0.
Yeah. Asking him if it's up.
3-1. It was really good down the stretch for the Dodgers. Pitched game 162, which they had to win to force the tiebreaker with Colorado. And fired 7 shutout innings in San Francisco. Freeman at first with 2 out, and on a 3-1 he drops down and misses. Back-to-back 2-out base runners for Atlanta. Dave Roberts looks on. Second postseason game in this ballpark, and a little bit of a late arriving crowd with a 4:30 local start time, but they filled up and it's rocking again. As Johan Camargo comes up, still in search of his first hit of this postseason.
And he's been really good on the year with runners in scoring position, as have the Braves as a team. Just hasn't showed up as much in this series.
2 on, 2 out. Camargo swings at the first pitch. Pop up in foul ground. Max Muncy has room. And Rich Hill's out of this first inning with a 1-0 lead. The NLDS on FS1 is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball, and is sponsored by T-Mobile. Whether you're home or away, T-Mobile has you covered. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. The Dodgers won, the Braves nothing. And Mike Foltynewicz home for the first one to Kike Hernandez. It's 1-0.
Braves pitchers seems like this whole series they've been pitching behind. Very few strike ones. And that's a formula that plays right in the hands of the Dodgers. When you're in a series like this and their lineup possesses the power they do, you have to eliminate the one area where they love it and start dominating in a little bit of the other area where they're weak. Easier said than done.
2-1. It's been a breakout season for Foltynewicz, who just turned 27 on Sunday. All-star for the first time here in his 5th major league year. That's floated to right. Markakis coming on. He will make the catch for the first out. He was drafted by Houston. Debuted out of the Houston pen in 2014, and then one of the many trades the Braves have pulled off, especially for pitching. Traded to Atlanta for Evan Gattis in 2015.
And he's come a long ways. He's matured in ways that has gotten him to a lot of career highs this year. But the one thing about pitching today that's different, when they basically are telling these kids, especially in the minors, just throw your stuff, everything you've got, and let stuff get you out in the zone. There's no command to one side of the plate or other where there's their money pitch, where they can go 8 out of 10 times. So you have to live with some of the things that come with today's style pitcher.
Comes out Cody Bellinger 1-0.
So the velocity is going to look good. The strikeouts are going to look way up. The walks are going to be up. And then it's a condensed version of yourself, because you're going to throw 110 pitches in 5 innings versus 110 in 7 and 8.
And he does have the hardest average fastball in the National League, better than 96 miles per hour. But he says he's at his best when he's not trying to throw 100. He deals 2-0. And now 3 balls, no strikes, all over the place.
But this is a perfect example. I know it's the pressure of the playoffs. You're down 2 games to 1, and you're going to learn that. But you see in the first 2 innings the erratic command of his fastball. And it would be okay if he could hit with his slider on a bigger basis, or his changeup. And his changeup has been, I don't think he's thrown it for a strike yet early on here.
That's another walk, 2nd one today. And for Braves pitching, because this isn't just Foltynewicz, that's 22 walks issued in 27 innings in this series.
Well, you know, when we talked about in the beginning of the series, it was strength against strength, meaning the offensive strength of one team was the pitching strength of the other, and vice versa in some categories. And so far, the Dodgers have been able to flex their muscles more in their strengths than the Braves have in theirs. Matter of fact, the Braves have exposed their weaknesses a little bit more.
Here's Puig, ball 1. Oh, you blink, and just like that, Yasiel Puig's the 2nd most experienced postseason player on the team. Only David Freese, who was just brought over at the end of August, has played in more postseason games than the guy they call the Wild Horse. 27 now, in his 6th year in the majors, and in some pain after fouling that ball off himself.
Interesting to see one of the few base runners that the Dodgers have on first base. Volte's not the fastest to home, but as we talked about, the stolen base is not a big part of teams' formulas anymore.
It's a good lead. Not running. Stroke to left center field. Acuna back at first. Now comes on and plays it on the short hop. And Puig has a 1-out single.
Just wonder with today's sky and just the glare, that's 2 consecutive plays to left field where Acuna has not picked up the ball off the bat. Got a late jump to this one, and in closing luckily kept it in front of him.
just kind of a hazy day.
You want to see some. Watch Rich Hill in the box.
Lays down a pretty good bunt. What'd you think of that?
I just love the style of running. I love he just, you could tell. What is he, 38, 39?
38, yeah.
I mean, he's got the heart of a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And he gives everything he has. I totally appreciate that. He'll battle at the plate. Then watch him pick him up and put him down. He's picking him up. He's putting him down. I love it.
He says people pay good money to come to a Major League Baseball game. Come watch me play. Now, to be honest, Rich, they come to watch you pitch. But he says that he feels like it's responsibility to give everything he's got every time he plays, no matter whether that's pitching or what he does at the plate. Second and third, 2 out. And here's that man again, Jock Peterson. Swinging and missing, strike one. Boltonevich was able to strike him out in the first inning. This is where the issues have been. They have homered their way to this 2-1 series advantage while going 3 for 23 with runners in scoring position. Strike two.
Now, we'll see on this 0-2 pitch what Boltonevich does, as opposed to the very first batter of the game in the series, which I believe changed his whole mindset of pitching when Jock Peterson hit that 0-2 pitch for a home run to start off the playoffs.
Went fastball.
Went fastball up.
And you think you should go slider down and in?
Slider. Back foot. Or in that area.
Here it comes. He listens to it. And he's out of the jam. Aerial coverage of this one brought to you by State Farm. Glad you're with us. Full day of postseason baseball. The Dodgers in front of the Braves 1-0, trying to advance to their third consecutive National League Championship Series. As Rich Hill comes home to Tyler Flowers with ball one. Braves trying to force a fifth game. That'd be Wednesday in Los Angeles. Dave Roberts has already said that it would be Clayton Kershaw. Anibal Sanchez lined up for the Braves if it gets that far. It went around 1-1.
Yeah, at this point, the Braves are not going to have any formula of whatever it takes. They're going to have to do whatever it takes today and use every resource just to get to that game 5, as the Dodgers obviously don't have to play it quite like that with the resources they have.
Oh. 2-1. And there's the obvious winner go home desperation for the Braves, but there's almost an equally high sense of desperation for the Dodgers not going back to LA to have to play a game 5.
And that's the, I call it the psyche of a 5-game series. You have so little room for error that you really have to deal more with the mental teeter-totter of emotions of, yeah, we don't want to play a game 5, but our game 5's at home. And the Braves are sitting there going, okay. The one thing I hate about cliches is, well, we got nothing to lose. The pressure's on them. No, you do. You do. So you want to play a game to put pressure on them, no doubt.
Flowers hits it sky high in the infield. Max Muncy. Call. Eventually it tumbles down and he makes the catch. Let's go down to Ken Rosenthal.
Joe, as crazy as that game was last night, Rich Hill made sure to stay mentally ready, knowing he was scheduled to pitch today. It's a veteran's mindset. It served him well on the final Sunday of the season. Walker Buehler had been scheduled to start game 162, and Hill fell asleep early Saturday night, not knowing the team was making a change. Well, the team pushed Buehler back, saving him for the NL West tiebreaker or wildcard game, and Hill awakened at 8 a.m. the next day with a text message from Dave Roberts waiting, saying, "You're starting today." Turned out well, as you said earlier, Joe. 7 scoreless innings against the Giants.
Pitched the Dodgers into that game 163 and strike one on Inciarte.
That's a good job by him, because that's a dangerous place to be. I mean, pitchers are creatures of habit. Certain things they like to do before they start, mentally or physically or even rest-wise. So I'm sure that was an uh-oh text at the beginning of getting it at 8 a.m.
Guess it helps when you're a guy like Rich Hill that's seen as much as he has over the course of his almost 2 decades as a pro now. That's a ball and 1-2.
What's so unique about Rich Hill is you would think that most left-handers with the stuff he has would pitch off the right side of the rubber, but because he's on the far extreme of the third base side of the rubber, he's throwing across the batter to throw that curveball.
Gently hit along first. Muncy has it on the back.
And what's so difficult for the hitter is because he has such great spin on that breaking ball, and especially he changes speeds, the hitter would be better served to not swing at it. But it looks so good when it's spinning up there, and you feel like you have to, especially with 2 strikes. It's a different story. But when he's on, it's hard on the umpire because he has so many different angles where the ball comes in, and obviously hard on the hitter.
That's one of the significant changes he made to save his career in the 2015 season when it looked like he may never get back to the majors. Shifted over there to that third base side. Ball one on Charlie Culberson.
Because just for angles, he's allowing the right-hander to see the ball more. And he's having to throw it away to break it in, but it just works for him. It creates a different look that hitters don't see. Because if you're on the first base side of the rubber, your angles are better. Unless you're a 2-seam kind of sinker baller, it makes more sense for a left-hander to be on the third base side of the rubber. So when you're on the mound, whether you're right or left-handed, you're trying to take care of angles and leverage that into success towards the plate.
StatCast powered by Amazon Web Services. Rich Hill, second highest called strike rate, behind just Kyle Hendricks. lot of hitters give up on that curveball. Here comes with the 1-2. It's a fastball by Culberson for strike 3, and a 1-2-3 second for Hill. Mike Foltynewicz to Justin Turner with a slider for ball 1. Foltynewicz with a huge strikeout, John, to get out of that second inning with no damage.
Yeah, he did. And that's the pitch he needs. That's the pitch any pitcher needs, by the way. When you dot the corner on a slider, you can see his kind of disgust. So right now the strike zone kind of is jumping a little bit for these pitchers. And all you want to know as a pitcher is which side you can go to, which consistency you can get. That's it. That's all you really want to know.
1-2. It was funny last night. The pitch that gets called a strike on Acuna from Walker Buehler, and then the grand slam, the next pitch. You joked that that might have been, had it been you, first time in your career you had gotten thrown out for arguing that a pitch should have been a ball.
Exactly. Yeah, that might have been one of my first ejections for
1-2.
I mean, that's such a crazy turn of events right there, because it's only one run, right? At the time, you walk in the run. Instead of it's 5-0, it's 4 runs.
On a 2-2, Turner strokes it foul.
Turner's so good. I mean, he makes pitchers have to feel like they got to throw 6 strikes to get him out, because he really does a great job at turning and burning on the pitches in. He's ready to hit fastballs, but then he commands the right side on pitches away. He won't try to do too much. He does not have a one-way tailored swing, is basically what I'm trying to say. Whereas others in the game have a one-way swing, and they're banking they're going to get their tunnel. where the ball's going to be before the at-bat is over.
How about this? Highest on base percentages in postseason history. Gehrig, Ruth, Turner. 2-2. Full count.
That's a wow stat when you're in that company.
And it's not like it's a small sample size. That's minimum 100 plate appearances. So Turner, who's played now in 35 postseason games, one of the greatest ever to play in October by that measure. 3-2. Flight off the end of the bat to right center. And Ciarte's got it. And we go down to Tom Verducci.
Well, thanks, Joe. Mike Foltynewicz typically pitches with a laminated card in his back pocket, which is a mini scouting report on all the Dodgers hitters. We saw him in game 1 go to that card a half dozen times in 2 innings, including in the middle of at-bats. Today, I don't even know if he has the card, guys. He has not pulled anything out of the back pocket. This is a pitcher now trusting his stuff and trusting a veteran catcher behind the plate and reading the swings of the hitters. And by the way, the catcher has his own cheat sheet on his wristband.
Here's Muncy taking strike 1.
Yeah, I don't understand it. To each their own. I think he'd be better served to not have a card in his back pocket. And, you know, it's like quarterbacks. That's what you usually see for quarterbacks calling out plays. But today's different. So players are adjusting the information. Some of it's overkill. And if you don't rely on your gut and your feel sometimes, you become robotic. And I think you run in the risk of just overcomplicating things. So it's got to be a balance. I've said that for years. And for some, they do it well. For others, maybe not so much.
Here's an 0-2, and Muncy lays off ball 1.
Wow. Curveball, you'll see more to the left-handers than the right-handers, and that's a really, really good pitch.
The 1-2. Got him swinging. He's gotten that slider working in on left-handed hitters.
Much better rhythm with that pitch. And you could tell that he has learned from his first game where everything was a little bit thrown too much effort and the feel was probably gone. So even though his fastball command has not been great today, at least his secondary pitches are starting to come around, because that really is, for the league to hit off of his slider, it's basically starting with the 120 something. It's ridiculous. So when he throws it well, they don't hit it.
Yeah, one of the lowest averages against his off-speed stuff of any pitcher in baseball. Here comes to Manny Machado with an RBI double on the first pitch that he saw in the first inning. Line drive center field in Ciarte. 1-2-3 third for Mike Foltynewicz. to the bottom of the third. Rich Hill and the Dodgers with a 1-0 lead as he delivers to his counterpart Fultonevich. Ball one. Now just one run over the last 16 innings against Rich Hill. What have you thought of him through two so far today?
You know what? Other than a little bit of fastball command, again, about 50% strikes. This is who he is. He creates an illusion with his fastball. He spins it. It's harder to hit at 91 miles an hour up in the zone, and then he just changes speeds with breaking balls, and it makes that fastball seem like it's 98 when he gets some breaking balls over the plate. I really think, and this is the difference of kind of a veteran pitcher versus a guy that's learning. I think if you asked him to throw 9 out of 10 curveballs for a strike, he could. I really do.
1 out of 1 there. And he gets Fultonevich his second strikeout. 1 away in the third. Well, Saturday, Minnesota trying to pull a monster upset, taking on Dwayne Haskins and unbeaten Ohio State. All started at noon Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app.
No chance.
You say no chance, huh? Here's Acuna. Strike one. The guy we talked about a little bit last night from a good baseball family. His dad, Ron Acuna Sr., played outfield in the Mets organization in the early 2000s and was a really good player. Hit above 300 for his career. Speedster. But when Ronald Jr. first told Dad, I want to do the same thing you do. I want to be a pro baseball player. Ron Sr. had a serious message for him. He said, okay, I support it, but if you want to do this, you got to promise me you're not going to make the same mistakes I did. I was good enough to make it to the majors, but I wasn't serious enough. You got to lift weights. You got to practice hard. And most importantly, you've always got to hustle. And Ronald Jr. promised him that day that he would. A breaking ball gets him looking for the second out of the third.
That's a perfect example of what Rich Hill can do. 2 fastballs. It looked like Acuna was in between pitches, meaning he wasn't able to pull the trigger on the fastballs. And this one starts so far out as a ball, even though it may have ended up as a ball, the presentation was better.
I don't know which grunt I like more, Rich Hill's or Tom Hallion's. Always strike one.
I can honestly say I've never grunted in my life throwing a baseball.
Quite a few guys that do it. Zach Greinke does it. Robbie Ray. You know, they say it can like lead to improve on the margins, improve exertion, I guess. Teach U.S. maybe SEALs to do it, breaking through doors. It's on the internet.
All right, so I'm going to try that with my driver then.
I don't know if you need to do that.
I'm going to grunt with my driver. I'm going to take that to the golf course.
So you're going to hit it 500 instead of 4?
Oh, I wish.
Got Fultonevich with a curve. Got Acuna with a curve. On an 0-2 to Albies. Stuck with a fastball, and it's 1-2.
Rich Hill knows his place. 5-6 innings is all he really wants to give the Dodgers.
Soft bouncer. This is going to be a tough play, and Hernandez needed to be perfect and wasn't. Infield single Ozzie Albies to keep the third inning going.
Perfectly placed. And sometimes that's all you need to get going. Albies has been struggling in the second half, although from the right side, much more average successful. Fighting it off and putting it into play when you've got the kind of speed that he does. It's a lot better than swinging from the heels. Risk reward.
Now Hill's got to deal with Freddie Freeman, who pays off ball one. Hill's not gotten that high strike call so far today.
And see, that's huge for Hill. I mean, that's no hitter stuff, strike zone, if he gets it, because then the hitter goes, oh, come on.
Chance of Freddie as their cornerstone hits, representing the go-ahead run, and takes ball two. The home run last night, the first of his postseason career, and his first trip to the postseason since 2013. It was a game winner for Atlanta, keeping their season alive. Now the Braves trying to extend it to a fifth game. On a 2-0, Freeman takes ball three.
I mean, Freddie is as good as it gets when you talk about, we talked about it yesterday, all his numbers. Right-handed pitcher, left-handed pitcher, doesn't matter what situation. Usually the average starts with a 3. That's just discipline right there, not trying to do too much with 2 outs.
Is he unloading here if he gets one?
Only if it's in that area. That's why he's one of the best in the business. It just doesn't expand too often. And that was that area. I mean, they tried to go away, but he threw it in, and Freddie was ready for it. By the way, if I had to do that right there,
yeah,
2 innings, I'll never be able to use a fork again.
Or your
Shoulders will be done.
Oh yeah,
done.
3-1, drop down and miss. The infield single, then the walk to Freeman, and Markakis has an opportunity here in the third.
Rich is asking some questions, and won't be the last pitcher to ask some questions. Some close pitches, a couple that dotted the strike zone that he didn't get called.
Braves had an opportunity in the first inning for Johan Camargo, first and second, 2 out. Camargo promptly popped up. And now it's for Markakis with Albies at second and Freeman at first.
It'll be interesting to see how aggressive Albies' lead at second base is with 2 outs here.
First pitch. Drop down and a pop-up. Same thing that happened in the first inning when the Braves had an opportunity. First pitch, infield pop, and the inning is over. Back on the NLDS, presented by Doosan on FS1 in Atlanta. Dodgers with a 2-1 series lead and a 1-0 lead in the fourth as Yasmani Grandal pops the first Fultonevich pitch up into left field. Some problems with that for Camargo. Started back at first and then came on. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Clean, quick inning would be a good formula for Fultonevich. The key for him today was to limit the amount of pitches he throws and give the Braves as many innings as possible in a close game to give them a chance because of how many pitchers they had to use yesterday.
They used 7 total. The bullpen's had to throw 15 2/3 in this series. Kike Hernandez, ball 1, and has done pretty well, right? I mean, we came into this series talking about how the bullpen has been an issue for Atlanta, but 4 earned runs over those 15 2/3. On 1-0.
Yeah, they've definitely held their own, but they've made it much more difficult on themselves because of what we talked about, just all those walks. You know, you're putting stress all over the place on young pitchers, and the inability to repeat pitches, to make key pitches. That's all going to come in time. You never know how someone's going to react to the situation until they get in it, and then you hope to learn from it quickly.
Big bounce it is short. There's Culberson. High throw, but Freeman pulls it down, 2 out. Bob Guerin, the LA bench coach, talking back to the video room. Going to take a look.
Got him.
So with the bases empty and 2 out, it'll be Cody Bellinger, who drew a walk his first time. As we're talking about the Atlanta bullpen, it is worth mentioning that if they get the lead in this game, even if they don't, there's a good chance they're going to want to use Arodys Vizcaino. He threw 31 pitches yesterday. He's not gone back-to-back since June. So Brian Snitker was very curious to see how Vizcaino felt after a throwing session a couple hours before the game today. After Vizcaino had proclaimed last night, "I'm good to go tomorrow, Skip," Brian said, "Why don't we sleep on it and see how you feel?" 2-1.
Well, he did a great job. I mean, you know, he backed himself in a corner in the ninth by not being able to get that slider anywhere close enough to rely a lot on the fastball. But when you're first and second, nobody out, 3-0 to Max Muncy, I know we got all kinds of probability of win probability and all this different stuff today.
A lot of stuff.
I can't imagine what that number read with that scenario. He got out of it. Braves are playing today because of it.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Cody Bellinger. Fultonevich looking for a second consecutive 1-2-3 inning. After he gives up 4 runs in 2 innings in game 1. Pretty good response so far. A second chance in game 4 and a payoff pitch. He walks Bellinger for the second time today. So a 2 gone. Here's Puig.
Puig, a much different hitter this year off of right-handed pitchers. Actually, almost, I mean, by statistics alone, he definitely prefers them.
To the point where he hardly even plays against left-handed pitching at this point. Bellinger runs on the first pitch. Flowers throws down. Not close to in time, and Bellinger's stolen his way into scoring position.
That's what I thought they would do earlier, but now with 2 outs, exactly right. Fultonevich takes a little while to get the ball to home plate. Bellinger, one of the best, and that all that does is clear the deck by walking Puig and getting the pitcher up. It clears the lineup. If nothing else, the Dodgers get to start at the top of the order in the 5th.
And we get to watch Rich Hill hit. Everybody wins.
That's everybody does win.
Now, a perfect sacrifice his first time. Strike one on a 95-mile-per-hour fastball.
Okay, that's the homer hack. Wait till you see when he gets to 2 strikes.
Oh, yeah. Grips the barrel.
Crouches down. Defense mode. He may bunt, too.
Oh, and 2. Stays alive out of that crouch stance, choking up on it.
You know what helped me so much in my career was actually batting in the National League, because when I saw the stuff that I was seeing and realized how hard it was, you stopped giving so much credit to the opposing hitter, because it isn't easy.
Another 0-2. Another foul ball. A lot of times this is the goal, right? Just make them work.
Absolutely. Bellinger's getting close to walking to third base if he wants to. They're not even thinking about. And the reason I would go to third base if I were him, just to bring in the thought of a wild pitch. I mean, there's nobody going to hold him on at all or try to even respect that. He could walk to third.
Hill fouls another, all in the high 90s. That's 3 in a row.
So you know what I'm saying should be thrown.
Snapping one off.
Yeah. He's swinging out of his shoes. He's in defense mode against the fastball, so he's just trying to spoil.
Two on, 2 out, and a 1-0 game here in Game 4. The 6th pitch from Foltynewicz to Hill, and he did go with a breaking ball, and he was able to stay alive again.
And Bellinger was, along with Puig, taken off, so right idea. I mean, this is already a win for Hill. It really is. He's frustrated. Foltynewicz doesn't even have a ball on him. 0-2 this whole time.
4 consecutive foul balls. 5 in a row. Next pitch should be the 8th. Rich Hill would tell you that the guy that sets the tone for this kind of at-bat for the pitchers is Clayton Kershaw. Leader in that regard. Old Gold just making it as hard to work as they can on the opposing pitcher. Here it's an RBI chance. Bellinger takes off as Hill finally succumbs to a high fastball. Middle 4. Dodgers in front 1-0. Rich Hill coming off the longest at-bat of the day for a Dodger hitter, seeing those 8 pitches against Manfred. Delivers ball 1 to Johan Camargo.
You know, the way the lineup is set up, if you're Rich Hill, you realize you get 3 outs right here. It sets you up in a nice position with 8-9-1. Always have to pitch to the sections of the lineup that allow you to wiggle out of trouble in the National League based on the pitcher batting, putting pressure on the manager, when to pinch hit. Obviously, it's only a 1-0 game right now.
Hill delivers 1-2. Camargo stays alive. Camargo 0 for 1 today and 0 for 13 in this series. Flowers and Inciarte to follow. Atlanta getting 5 runs in the 2nd inning yesterday, just 1 run the rest of this series. And Freddie Freeman's game-winning homer last night.
Small series, not getting off to a good start, always magnified. But if you went 0 for 13 in the regular season, I think every player in the history of the game goes 0 for 13 at one point. But you hate it to be now because it's magnified. Everyone talks about it.
And collectively for the Braves, I mean, this has been a slump now for a couple weeks. Started near the end of the regular season, and the kind of slump that every team goes through. It's just at this point, you can't wait to come out of it. Camargo tries to lay off and does, and it's 2-2.
Well, I know coming into the series, statistically in the National League, they had the 2nd best average against left-handers, but that really doesn't tell the story. It limits their ability to slug and score runs. And you're talking about way above average left-handers that they faced already, and that's usually the case in the postseason. So you can't really rely on that statistic to determine how they might fare. I just think left-handers neutralize their lineup a lot more than right-handers do.
It's been a good at-bat for Camargo.
He battles.
The 9th pitch is ball 4 to start the 4th. Time for a game break. To the studio, Kevin Burkhardt. Well, that was fast. So the Astros pulling the sweep. They'll await the winner of the Yankees and the Red Sox. Play game 3 from the Bronx tonight with that series tied at a game apiece. Tyler Flowers taking ball 1.
Well, the 2 previous left-handed starters for the Dodgers did not walk a single batter. And Rich Hill has walked a couple, although be it close on some pitches. Buehler unfortunately got out of him a little bit of mechanics yesterday with some walks.
2-0.
Seen this from time to time where Rich Hill can lose the strike zone. He can. He's gone through periods where he loses his command and release point, and a lot of that happens every once in a while because of the altered release points that he has throughout the game.
Comes with a 2-0. He gets strike 1. This is the part of the game where Rich Hill typically has gone through his struggles. After the 50th pitch, opponents hitting about 60 points higher. 14 of the 20 homers that he's given up this year have come from this point forward.
Yeah, it's strange too, because, you know, if you put that into innings, 4 through 6 innings have been tough. ERA wise, it's exactly right. Tried to build a case of the rhyme or reason of that. Some of that could just simply be he's had big leads, allows him to pitch differently and give up more runs. Who knows? But last year on the flip side, he was much better later in the game.
That's a 2-2 fly after a toss over. You know, good postseason numbers for him, but part of that, especially last year, was how aggressive Dave Roberts was bringing him out of the game once it got to that part of the season. He made 4 starts, but only once did he go 5 full innings. Only faced 2 batters a third time. A bit high, full count.
See how big the break is, and then the presentation confuses Hill a little bit from where his catcher catches it to where it actually crosses the plate. And that's what I was telling how much pressure it puts on the umpire. It's a tough pitch to track the entire way.
Here's a payoff inside, and back-to-back walks to open the 4th for Atlanta. Comes the pitching coach, Rick Honeycutt. The winner of this series advancing to the National League Championship Series to take on the Milwaukee Brewers, who dispatched to the Rockies in short order. And in their first postseason trip since 2011, they're headed back to the National League Championship Series. Are you ready to watch a starting pitcher get a standing ovation after like 3 innings of work in Milwaukee?
No, but whatever it takes for Milwaukee obviously is going to be their formula of success. You know what I am ready for? Guaranteed baseball games, because they got a dome.
They do. Yeah. It's a fun team to watch.
It is.
It's going to be a fascinating matchup regardless of which team comes out of this series.
Here's a tough situation right here. Typically you would think you'd want to bunt him over, but then all they're going to do is walk Culberson, and the pitcher's on deck.
He shows bunt and takes a strike.
So if you're going to do that for the Braves, you're going to pinch hit for Foltynewicz.
Yeah.
Because you're going to force the hand. Lefty on lefty, it makes a lot of sense to bunt here. He'd be much tougher to hit against and put runners in scoring position.
You saw Venters is warming. 1 ball, 1 strike.
But in a 1-0 game, that's the chances Dave Roberts will take by forcing the hand of an already tired bullpen to get out Mike Foltynewicz. He's so tempted to keep him in. If I were manager, just because I want his arm in there, even if he makes an out, you got 2 outs, bases loaded.
Bunted to third. Turner's got it. They throw in Ciarte out. So 2nd and 3rd with 1 gone. Culberson coming to the plate. See how long he actually stands up there.
Wow. Got to say I'm a little surprised. Confidence in your ball club that you're going to score runs, take the out.
Strike 1 on Culberson. They're going to let Rich Hill pitch to him.
See, this is where baseball's changed. You ground a ball to shortstop, you've tied the game up. But if you swing big, you bring strikeout into the mix. You've got to put it in play.
He does to third, but that's not going to get the job done. Turner throws Culberson out, 2 away.
Anywhere but there.
And with 2nd and 3rd and 2 gone in a 1-run game, they're going to send up Kurt Suzuki, ending the day of Mike Foltynewicz.
Well, Foltynewicz did a great job after giving up that run. It's the little things right here at this time. Veteran pitcher, slow pitch, trying to get him to pull the ball on the ground. That's exactly what happened to the only position other than the pitcher that would have prevented the run from scoring.
Boy, this is a tough one for Brian Snitker with the way that Fulton-Evans was settling into this game. We got them through 4, giving up just the 1 run on a 2-out double from Machado in the first inning. And you know that he understands the situation Snitker's in. It'll make it any easier for him, though. It'll be easier to live with if Suzuki can come through. The 35-year-old veteran catcher, 2nd and 3rd, 2 gone in the 4th. Takes ball 1.
It's hard to come off the bench these days, but you got to be as disciplined as you can imagine. Look for one spot. Slows you down with the curveball and then usually beats you with the fastball because you're in between as a hitter. You got to sit on one thing, I think.
Popped up. They get out of play, and it's 1-1.
Then if you get the 2 strikes, just do your battle job to put it in play and see what happens.
You talk about Atlanta, this being a strength for them much of this season. They've had their issues with runners in scoring position as well. The only hit in this series in those situations was Acuna's grand slam last night.
But on the flip side, the Dodgers are the best pitching staff with runners in scoring position, so it's that push and pull.
On a 1-1, Suzuki hits a curveball to left center field. That's a base hit, and the Braves have taken the lead in Game 4. It works for Snitker, thanks to Kurt Suzuki.
Well, he sat on a high pitch and it was a breaking ball, and Jock Peterson closed as hard as you can trying to make this play. That allowed with 2 outs both runners to score. Tough backhand as hard as he was charging.
Now Acuna grounds 1 to 3rd for Justin Turner. That'll end the inning. But Atlanta's taken the lead. The gamble pays off for Brian Snitker. Pinch hitting Kurt Suzuki. Fulton-Evans, his day comes to an end, but the Braves have taken the lead. Follow every postseason moment with At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. The only place to get it all. Live radio feeds, video highlights, pitch tracking, plenty more. Download MLB At Bat today. Man of the moment right now, Kurt Suzuki with a pinch hit 2-run single. Because he pinch hit, Fultonevich is done. And Johnny Venters, the 33-year-old acquired from Tampa Bay this summer, comes on to face Jock Peterson. That's ball 1.
Venters, tremendous sinking fastball. At times can lose the strike zone, but so much movement. A lot of ground balls off.
And as Braves fans know well at this point, just an incredible story. The first pitcher in Major League history to make it back to the majors after 3 Tommy John surgeries. And a 4th, not quite Tommy John, but a 4th elbow operation in there. That's fouled, and it's 1-2. His first time in the majors since 2012 when he was a big-time back-end guy. Remember, it was Kimbrel and Venters, a really dominant duo early on, but he pitched so much. He had a habit of throwing too many side sessions, too many bullpens. Learned through that whole process. Somehow has made it back after all those years and all those surgeries. 2-2.
Yeah, it is amazing. Having had one is all you really want to ever have, and the rehab and the process and the mental anguish of wondering if you're ever going to be the same. Imagine going through that 3 times. So good for him. He's in this position.
He gets Peterson for the first out of the 5th. The NLDS on FS1 is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball, and is sponsored by Indeed, the world's #1 job site. And by T-Mobile, whether you're home or away, T-Mobile has you covered. Today's aerial coverage brought to you by State Farm.
You ever been in a blimp?
No, have you?
No, but I want to.
Ooh.
It's one of the bucket list things.
Tell me how it is. That would be good enough for me. Ball 1 on Justin Turner. Turner's 0 for 2 in this one. Still, though, he's reached in 7 of his 15 plate appearances in this series. It's a strike 1-1. Ball 2. The 10-year veteran. Seems like Turner's been around in a big role for a long time, but really this is only the 3rd year out of those 10 that he's been in the majors where he's the undisputed starter at his position coming into the year. Opened his career in Baltimore, handful of games there, utility man in New York with the Mets. Then they non-tendered him. Dodgers took a flyer on him in 2014, and he kept on taking advantage of the opportunities that he's got, and has turned into one of the game's best. On a 2-2, he takes ball 3.
It really is amazing when you think about the course of his career and where he was to where he is now. You would assume that he was always meant to be this kind of person, but he's worked hard. He's perfected that leg kick and just his ability to keep the bat in the zone and really not overswing in these situations.
He comes back to earn the walk, as he often does, and he's aboard with 1 gone.
And many guys on this team have learned from the influence not only from Turner Ward, but Mr. Turner, who just drew the walk, and his approach to the game has kind of carried through to some of the younger players, kind of like Bellinger, and kind of you see these kind of success that they're doing and the way they go about it, and by osmosis you start taking that in and you benefit from it.
Muncy now. And what a cool thing for a guy, Turner, who is a Southern California native, grew up in a family full of Dodger fans. One of his earliest memories is watching the Gibson home run. He was 3 years old at that point. That's a strike on Muncy, watching that game on his grandparents' floor. Statcast powered by Amazon Web Services. Taking a look at the spray chart for Muncy and the way that they position him defensively.
I've said this before, I say it again. I still am amazed we're in this shift era. I really am. I'm amazed that hitters haven't made the shift go away. And maybe because the reward system hasn't given him any reason for it to go away. But you're talking about the most important time of the year. You're going to see nobody on the left side of the field in the playoffs, and you can't put a bunt down to get a rally going or get a runner on, and you're still trying to swing for the seats. I'll never understand it. I get it, over 162 games for the most part. You have your 2 to 3 guys. You want that to happen. But when you're shifting 6 players in a lineup, that to me is still one of the most amazing phenomenons that I've witnessed over the time of being out of the game and not seeing anybody, for the most part, change their fate and make that defense change according to them.
Venters to Muncy, 1-2. Ground ball right side. This presents another challenge, trying to turn double plays out of that positioning. Able to get the out in second. 2 gone.
I mean, that's 6-5 on your scorecard, which doesn't make sense.
Remember the note I gave you, the little tip, 6 at 4.
But my box is not big enough to be able to do all that.
Need a finer tip on the pen.
Yeah.
Yep. 6 at 4, 5 at 6. 2 on in the 5th. And then with 2 out, up comes Machado. Drove in the lone Dodger run with a 2-out double in this very situation. Man at first, 2 out. Back in the first inning. On the first one from Venters, he takes ball 1.
Manny looks a little better today. He's been a little jumpy at the plate, trying to make something happen, expanding the zone. We already showed you what he's done when swinging out of the zone, and all of those usually result in strikeouts.
Two and out. On a 2-0 pitch, Machado rips one on the ground to second, right at Ozzie Albies. Halfway home in Atlanta. The Braves with a 2-1 lead, and with the heart of the order coming up, Albies, Freeman, and Markakis trying to force Game 5 Wednesday on the West Coast. Braves in front of the Dodgers 2-1 at the bottom of the 5th inning. Kurt Suzuki's pinch hit 2-run single. The difference in this game is Ozzie Albies pops up the first one from Rich Hill. Kike Hernandez for out number 1. MLB postseason continuing in primetime tonight from the Bronx. The Yankees and the Red Sox on TBS, and if necessary, if this score were to hold, it will be a Game 5 Wednesday in Los Angeles. Who would have thought midway through a Game 4, who would have thought there'd even be a Game 4 the way this one was trending? But who would have thought the Braves would be in position to try and force a 5th game? Freddie Freeman and a first pitch curve takes strike 1. Drops down and gets strike 2.
Of course, Rich Hill and Freddie Freeman been around, so they've had a little bit more opportunities to face each other than some of these other Braves. I mentioned the game that Rich Hill pitched against the Braves earlier this year. Amazing in this series. A lot of close pitches, 2 back-to-back walks, a bunt, a ground out, and a pinch hit. It's going to take a game like this type of game for the Braves to have success.
Like we talked about off of the top, it is all magnified in the 5-game format. It's the beauty and the curse.
Yeah, I really am not a fan. I never was when we were playing, trying to get to our destination in a 5-game series. Just so many different variables that you could never rely on in a best of 7.
0-2. Freeman rips one on the right side. Turner won't have a play. Able to stop it, but not cleanly. Freeman's aboard with 1 gone in the 5th.
And I know guys are used to it like this, but Turner doesn't get that kind of hop at third base. It's a different angle. He's playing in the shift, so he's got to read it differently and play it. And I know he's been there plenty of times, so it's not an excuse. It's just a different angle, different read when you're sitting at third base, getting a whole different spin and a whole different reaction of the ball off the bat.
Throw to base hit. Freeman's been on all 3 times. 2 hits and a walk for him. 1 out in the 5th inning. Up comes Nick Markakis. On the first pitch, he takes ball 1. Trying to cut to that bullpen phone a moment ago. Dodgers set up pretty well in the bullpen, having gotten Walker Buehler a little bit deeper into that game yesterday than it looked like it might go.
Dodgers just simply set up better in every area. I mean, it's just a matter of execution.
2-0. Division champs for a 6th consecutive season. Ryan Madson warming. Braves are in the postseason for the first time in 4 years. They're trying to win a postseason series for the first time since John Smoltz was the closer. 2001 division series against Houston. 3 balls, no strikes on Nick Markakis.
Yeah, as good as the run was for 14 straight years, it's been a longer run for Braves fans around here not seeing a victory in a series. So this is kind of like the building blocks for what a lot of people around here are hoping would be a sustained run with the young core players and enough prospects in the farm system to build on.
4-pitch walk. The 5th free pass issued today by Rich Hill. The Braves have him at 1st and 2nd.
So that's the 4th time that Rich Hill, once he walked a guy out of the stretch, walked the next guy. So that just tells you the difference about being comfortable in a windup versus stretch scenario. And Braves trying to get some breathing room here.
This is the opponent slugging by times through the order. And Right now he's in the third trip through the order. We mentioned that last year the numbers in the postseason for Rich Hill were good overall, but you look a little more closely at that, and you see part of the reason why was that they limited his exposure to the order the third time through. Only faced 2 batters a third time in 4 starts last postseason.
The good and the bad with that is if everything goes good and everything works, you have success. If it doesn't, then you start taxing the bullpen in ways that ultimately could end up coming to hurt you in the end in the long run.
2 on 1 out. Johan Camargo swings and misses, strike 1. Camargo started that 2-run rally last inning with a leadoff walk. So while he's still searching for his first base hit of this series, got to go on with the free passes last time. Strike 2. For more on Rich Hill, we check in with Tom Verducci.
Well, he's staying in this game because, let's face it, he's left-handed, right? To get through Freeman and Markakis, and now to keep Camargo on the right side. This is his 23rd batter faced. That's the longest he's gone in any postseason start. I'm assuming this would be his last batter no matter what, with Flowers, the right-handed hitter, on deck.
And this is his 8th postseason start, his 14th year in the majors. Raised by a run in the 5th. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, if you go up there trying to pull the ball against Rich Hill, you're doing him a favor. But if you have a disciplined approach and look for one area and think right center, and then if you happen to get a ball in the area where you can drop the barrel of the bat and get it, you know, then you can pull it. But if you go up there trying to launch or pull, you're feeding into his strength.
Bouncing ball is short, off of Machado, and everybody's safe. Here comes Dave Roberts. That is how Rich Hill's day is going to come to an end.
Yeah, with Machado 99 out of 100 times he makes this play, and it's a double play. The ball comes up, catches him on the heel.
And so it'll be up to Ryan Madson out of that Dodger bullpen into the fire here in the 5th with the bases loaded. bases loaded for the Braves, and they lead it 2-1 as Ryan Madson comes on.
Madson has one thing in mind, and that is give Machado one more chance to turn two. Either induce that ground ball or try to get a pop-up swing and miss. This is the kind of inning the Braves really had yesterday. Weird stuff happening that they took advantage of, and they got to take advantage of it again. With an inning-ending double play, what it looked like for sure that didn't happen.
Madson, who pitched in Game 3 yesterday, 2/3 of an inning. He's thrown right into the fire here with Freeman at third, Markakis at second, Camargo at first, and Tyler Flowers at the plate. There's one catcher for Atlanta that delivered to give Atlanta the lead. It's the other standing in here and taking ball one. It's up to Ryan Madson to preserve Rich Hill's line. Okay right now, but the Braves with a chance to break it open here. Big strike, 1-1.
Big fastball and great changeup and good overhand curveball. He wants to create the illusion that when it comes out of his hand, it's going to be a fastball.
On a 1-1. That dip slow. Good take by Flowers.
That was a great take. I mean, that's such a Bugs Bunny type changeup. I mean, it's coming out of his hand in his big frame. And that's what he wants you to do. He wants you to overcommit to a fastball that's already 96, 97, and then there's no way you can stay back and hit that changeup. Challenge here for Camargo at first with the pitcher in the windup. You've got to get aggressive, big enough lead to get to second base as fast as you can on a ground ball with no chance that they're going to throw back behind where Muncie's playing.
2-1. Popped up left side. Grandal has room for the second out.
This is just tying him up inside and a huge pop-up. He wanted a pop-up, strikeout, or ground ball.
So he watches Madson get out number 2, but still holding his breath with the bases still loaded, and Ender Inciarte coming up. Here's a visit from Yasmani Grandal, the second baseman Kike Hernandez. Some mound visits become a topic last night. The Braves ran out of them, and then it almost became an issue in that 9th inning with Vizcaíno and Suzuki not on the same page as far as signs, and the tying run at third.
That was crazy. I mean, that is under the most intense circumstances to be guessing and not knowing.
Dodgers down to 3 visits left with that one. First one to Inciarte. Falls off the table for strike 1. Freeman the runner at third. Markakis at second. Camargo at first. And Inciarte falls behind 0-2 as Matson's delivered a couple of sterling changeups.
Outstanding. Now you got to stay back and find a way to put it in play. Do the same thing for Madson. Keep throwing the pitch down.
Grandal able to chest it down, keeping Freeman at third, 1-2.
Well, the beauty of experience is exactly this, what we talked about before. As you see the replay of this pitch, is you're not going to be bothered by the environment or the moment. And you know that you want to always take advantage of the other person's aggressiveness or lack of experience at times.
On a 1-2. Drifts away, and it's 2-2. Ryan Madson in his 48th postseason game, facing Ender Inciarte in the postseason for the first time. Bases loaded, 2 gone, 2-2. Do it again. Another 2-2. Flipped into short left field. Machado makes the call. Matson's out of the jam. And it stays a 2-1 game as we go to the 6th in Atlanta. Johnny Venters stays on, misses with his first pitch to Yasmani Grandal.
You get the sense, or at least I feel like we should be like in the 8th inning with all that's been going on, and we're really only in the top of the 6th. And of course, the Dodgers trail by 1, but a lot of angst and a lot of things have to go the right way for the Braves to, of course, continue their quest to get to Game 5.
On a 2-0, Grandal takes a strike. It's as good as it gets, man. Feeling that late inning tension in the 3rd and 4th inning of a game. Love it.
I'm sure managers could.
Yeah, they could
use some
without it.
Yeah, formulas.
No swing, and it's 3-1 on Grandal as Johnny Venters goes into some unfamiliar territory here. This is only the 3rd time that he's attempting to go more than 1 inning. He's not done it since August. The left-hander's 3-1 is lifted to center. Inciarte. 1 out and down to Ken Rosenthal.
Well, Joe, you hit on it. It's going to be really interesting to see how Brian Snitker navigates these final 12 outs. Hall of Fame manager Bobby Cox was in his office last night. This was a night in which Snitker used 7 pitchers, including 4 rookies in a row at one point, and he was sort of frazzled. He turned to Cox and said, "How the heck did you do this all these years?" Well, Venters is obviously pitching right now. As for the rest of the left-handers, Max Fried would be going for a 4th time in 5 days. That would be a lot to ask. That leaves A.J. Minter. Still in the bullpen from the right side, Sabathia, Brock, and don't forget Julio Teheran.
Yeah, and the thing with Teheran is Kike Hernandez takes the ball. What is he on the roster for? If you weren't going to start him, this would have been the game he was going to start. They go with Fultonevich on short rest, and they've completely stayed away from him from a bullpen perspective. There were a couple really good relievers that they didn't carry.
Yeah, I think early on, game 1, game 2 length, possibly now you may be looking for a tandem if they get to game 5. But Julio Teheran has gone through different points of the season where he struggled mightily at home and struggled and got it going a little bit, but it would be a matchup issue and an extra inning issue, I would think, for Teheran.
Vizcaino down there. That'll be a bigger and bigger story as this game goes on. Will he be available? Hernandez takes ball 2. Again, 31 pitches last night for the Braves closer. And he's not thrown on back-to-back days since June, before his few months off and on the disabled list for the shoulder problem. 2-2. Ground ball. Base hit to left.
You know who really wants to see a game 5? The Brewers.
Oh, yeah, right.
They're sitting back, took care of business in 3 games. They're like, go 5 and play 16.
They're kind of just living the dream here with the way that everybody's beating each other up leading up to their series, because you go back to the Rockies team they faced that had to win game 1 or had to play game 163, that had to play the wild card game and limped into Milwaukee. And yeah, they may get a team.
I'll tell you what, there may not be a hotter pitching team than the Brewers, especially with their bullpen, that how they can shut you down.
Tying run on here in the 6th as Bellinger cracks it to second. Albies to second 1, and that's all they'll get.
I'm telling you, Bellinger might be able to beat the freeze here.
Yeah.
Guy who runs in between innings and takes down every fan who tries to. Watch how quickly this ball's hit hard and how quick Bellinger gets down to first. He's there before almost the transfer. This ball was hit on a bullet. I know he had to turn a long way to throw it, but he's getting down the line quickly.
Does he get a head start against the freeze?
He'd have to get a little head start. Everyone would have to get a head start.
So a 2 gone. Yasiel Puig bats. One for one today. Has been aboard both times. Single in the intentional walk. Lifts a fly ball weakly to short right. Albies out. Markakis on, and it falls in. Bad miscommunication. Albies started to cruise thinking that Markakis had it. Neither one of them did. And the door cracked open for the Dodgers here in the 6th.
Well, a tougher play for Albies, of course. He's going out with his back towards the field, and you know Markakis has to respect the power of Puig
Well, they have announced David Freese as the pinch hitter, and with that, Brian Snitker is going to remove Johnny Venters from this game. Brad Brock was warming. See if he's the man coming in for Freese, and if Freese will hit. Welcome back to the NLDS, presented by Doosan on FS1. Dodgers win in the first 2 games of this series. The Braves winning game 3 to force this 4th game, and now they lead it 2-1. Brad Brock comes in, though, with the runners at the corners and 2 gone for David Freese.
Brock, I think his changeup's way more effective against left-handers. He loves to go to that changeup, crossfire delivery. And Freese, what a pickup the Dodgers were able to get. Adding him to the roster. See the numbers on the year. One of the clutch guys in the postseason.
He's got the tying run at third, the go-ahead run at first as they check on Puig. Since the Dodgers acquired David Freese on August 31st, he has led the National League, hitting .385. He tries to begin to turn the page on this story. The Dodgers in this series 3 for 25 with runners in scoring position. Here it comes. That's high for ball 1.
Brock also takes a long time to deliver the ball to the plate with Puig at first. I'm sure it would have to be a great jump to get to second if they're thinking about getting 2 runners in scoring position here.
Freese lifts one to right. Markakis near the corner. Does he have room? Not quite. Almost all of David Freese's opportunities with the Dodgers have come against left-handed pitching. Dave Roberts not wanting to necessarily burn one of his bench players just for the sake of the platoon advantage. So he allows Freese to bat against a guy that he's homered against before. Two on, 2 out, 1-1. There goes Puig with no throw. Puig will stop short of the bag. The goal there was to entice the throw from Flowers. Didn't. Now base hit could give the Dodgers the lead.
It was there if he wanted it. Of course. I'll let you finish it.
Swing and a miss, 2-2. I got nothing on that. The count is full. Jock Peterson due next. Braves 2, Dodgers 1, 6th inning with one of the great postseason hitters of this generation at the plate in David Freese. The payoff. That is a base hit to center field. David Freese in October again. A 2-run single that gives the Dodgers the lead in Game 4.
Well, he didn't expand on the pitch above the zone earlier, and he goes right up the middle and just out of the reach of Culberson. So far, each team has come up with 2 pinch hitters that have drove in both runs.
It was Kurt Suzuki for the Braves, giving them a 2-1 lead, and now it's David Freese for the Dodgers, taking the lead right back. And Brian Snitker will take the ball right back to the next reliever for the Braves. On Thursday, Carson Wentz and the Eagles battle Saquon Barkley and the Giants in a divisional showdown starting at 7:30 Eastern on Fox, NFL Network, and streaming on Prime Video.
I don't think those 2 teams like each other.
No, I don't think so either. Jock Peterson facing Max Fried. And that is upstairs in ball 1. Fried getting a heavy workload in this series. Brian Snitker wasn't sure if Fried would be available today. Thought maybe one hitter. Converted starter. He's done a nice job for him.
I hope they eliminate that converted part.
Just let him stick with it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at this point, it was contribute out of the pen or.
Right. No, I get it now. Yeah, I get it now. I'm just talking long term.
Yeah.
That's Snell-like. The Rays.
Yeah. It's a great comp. Very similar frame. There goes Freeze as Peterson lines out to third.
What a play.
Johan Camargo taking a base hit away from Peterson. Nobody can take a hit away from David Freeze, who contributes again for his team in the postseason. A go-ahead 2-run single, and the Dodgers lead it, middle 6. David Freeze with a pinch hit 2-run single, giving the Dodgers the lead as they try to clinch a 3rd consecutive trip to the National League Championship Series. And here, John, they turn to Pedro Baez.
He's been pretty good. He's got electric stuff. The formula for the Dodgers usually ends with Kenley Jansen. It's been a little different Kenley Jansen so far this last 2 months for a lot of reasons.
That is strike 1 on Charlie Culberson. Yeah, he no longer inflicts the same kind of fear and sense of the game is over that you got from Kenley Jansen in previous years. He may still finish the job, but Dodger fans, and you got to figure the other side, it's a completely different feeling going into the 9th inning of previous years. Quickly 0-2.
Some medical issues, certainly got to be weighing on him, as well as just had a child, right? A lot going on, but they still hand him the ball tonight. Trust his ability.
Culberson climbs the ladder and pops it up right side of the infield. Kike Hernandez. Culberson, the first out. David Freeze, who had one of the single greatest postseason performances ever for the Cardinals in 2011. Some of the most dramatic moments in decades, and really ever, in the postseason. What he did in that 6th game in St. Louis to beat the Rangers. What he did through that entire series. And that was not nothing. And the Dodgers formula and equation for making that move and bringing a guy like him in for this run.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly you can see the depth of the Dodgers play out. When a left-hander goes on the mound, they don't really lose a whole lot. Their bench is better than a lot of people's starting lineup. And so when you're built to try to win the World Series, you're going to add the pieces you think that are going to best accompany that.
Ryan Flaherty hitting now. 1-run game, 6th inning. Outside, ball 1. And then it's perfect contrast in the two benches.
Yes.
See, the Braves are able to run up there. There's no knock on Flaherty. It's just, it's a complete mismatch.
And they'll get there. They're building something to where they're buying time for some young prospects. They've already seen the development of the young prospects in Acuna and Albies, Margot. And the resources they will have in the offseason from either free agent signings or trades to bunch together. Like, the one thing about organizations, you can't, every prospect's not going to play for you. It's just not possible. So when you get into a position like they are now, you can start making some of those big moves.
On a 2-0, Flaherty. Another pop up on the infield. Who wants it?
I got it.
Turner calls it and catches it. It's part of what made this a really interesting summer for Alex Anthopoulos, the new GM, who kind of looked at this coming in as a year to evaluate what he had. Figured there was still a year or even 2 off from really competing in the East, but then there they were flirting with first place with the deadline coming. He's like, okay, do we really go for it now? And they did make a few moves to try and give him a shot.
I thought he did a great job not mortgaging a lot of top prospects. You know, doing enough to help. The Gausman trade was huge, and just adding pieces here and there to give them a better chance to win the division, which they did. And you know, fighting here in this series against the Dodgers, all part of the process. But don't tell them anything right now. They want to get to Game 5 and have a different discussion.
They got the right guy at the plate here who could even it with one swing. Strike 1 and a fastball. Power against power. His grand slam yesterday, the biggest swing of this series for Atlanta. Freddie Freeman on line 1. Yeah, pretty big swing too. Breaking the 5-5 tie to win it 6-5 late. 1-1. Ronald Acuna Jr. fouls it off. He's behind 1-2.
Based on the way he swings and his approach, you can tell that the pitches away are going to give him the biggest fit, and the ball up that crowds him. And so velocity out of Pedro Baez with the combination of spinning a baseball. It's a tough matchup for Mr. Acuna.
Doesn't turn 21 until December. Played in on a 1-2 pitch. And lifting a fly ball down the line. He got under it. Peterson into the corner. Man, that's as high as you're ever going to see a ball hit. Didn't quite get it up. Through a 6, 3-2. Official caps, t-shirts, hoodies, jerseys, jackets, and more. You can find all the gear that you need all postseason long at MLBshop.com. A couple great environments in the first 2 postseason games here at SunTrust Park. The Dodgers are trying to end this series, leading 3-2. Justin Turner leading off and taking ball 1 from Chad Sabatka.
Hard throwing righty. See the numbers on the year, only 14 games, so that's a shock to your system when you're in this situation after 14 games in the regular season.
Turner shoots one to right, sinking. Markakis can't get it. Leadoff single, Justin Turner. Time now for the Budweiser game summary. Back-to-back very dramatic games here in Atlanta. Dodgers took a 1-0 lead on Machado's 2-out double in the first. Kurt Suzuki pinch hit 2-run single to give the Braves the lead in the 4th inning. Then David Freese doing it with 2 gone in the 6th, putting the Dodgers back in front. That's Suzuki's base hit. Here's Muncy. Ball 1. Five-year-old rookie. Home with a 1-0. That one just misses ball 2. I mentioned just the 14 games in the big leagues and now finds himself in this situation. Sabatka started this season in A-ball.
Yeah, quite a journey, and I don't know if he envisioned this in part of his year, but he's got tremendous leverage to downhill fastball. It takes a little while for him to get it to home plate, so you could run on him like most relievers, hard throwers. And when he gets the tilt of that breaking ball off the fastball, you almost sense that Turner was in a position to maybe think about stealing second base. But when he starts getting the tilt of that power breaking ball, which is a basically 12-6 break, after commanding the fastball, he's going to be very difficult to hit in the big leagues.
Couple scoreless appearances in this series already. Game 1 and game 3. Here's the 2-0 to Muncy.
See what that does? That puts pressure on the pitcher with just the thought of a guy possibly going to second base. I asked Dave Roberts, maybe 2 years ago, what is it like to manage opposite of what you were like as a player? He said, well, we don't have the personnel. Certainly, there's not much running in the game anymore.
4-pitch walk, 2 on, nobody out. What do you say?
But he knows the value in it, right? I mean, he had one of the biggest steals in Red Sox history, down 3-0, and the value in, if a pitcher only has to think about one thing, think how much easier it is to pitch rather than 2 things, or the drag it has on the pitches to the hitter at the plate when the runner at first can create that kind of pressure.
Visit from Hernandez. Here's that stolen base you're talking about. The 4th game of the championship series against the Yankees in 2004. Down 3-0, facing elimination. They set up the tying base hit. They'd win that game in extras and go on to break the long drought after that season winning the World Championship. And so when you're a team that's built the way the Dodgers are, how do you then balance wanting to be aggressive and, like you said, wanting a little more run game, but also not running yourself out of extra runs off homers?
Yeah, I just think there are some givens that there are some pitchers that are so slow to the plate that if you don't take advantage of them, then you're never going to take advantage of anybody.
Dodgers trying to add on. Machado up there with 2 on and nobody out. Strike 1. Strike 2.
You know, if he could throw off of that power breaking ball right at that height of that fastball, what Machado has shown is he has been unable to stay off of it. But the key is coming out of that slot right at the same height of the fastball. See what he chooses to do.
On an 0-2 pitch to Manny Machado. Fastball. Machado checks his swing 1-2. Machado 2 for 15 in this series. Both hits big ones. Home run in game 2. RBI double here in game 4. On this 1-2. Hits it foul and we'll do it again.
Backswing caught Flowers. He's got a long swing, does Machado. And finish hits him right on top of the head. Did not feel good. Got him set up for it. Just the confidence to be able to throw that pitch. And it's the tug of war when a guy's got a good fastball and the hitter fouls it off and doesn't catch it up. The last thing you want to think about is speeding his bat up with a breaking ball. But when you have that kind of stuff and you throw the right kind of breaking ball, it doesn't matter. Machado's eyes have been down this whole at bat. So anything down, he's going to be more aggressive on it.
We've seen him have a hard time laying off. There's pitchers down and away throughout this series. Swung at a ball that was a few feet off of the plate in the 9th last night. On another 1-2 from Sabatka. He gets a fastball and yanks it in the air deep down the left field line. It's gone. Manny Machado breaks it open with a 3-run shot. Machado and the Dodgers can start to smell it. Looking for a 3rd consecutive trip to the National League Championship Series, and in a game that they once trailed 2-1, they now lead 6-2 in the 7th.
Just another example of a great player seeing enough fastballs and getting the one mistake, the one pitch that wasn't in the area where he was having trouble with it, and doing the most with it.
Now ball 1 on Grandal.
Unfortunately, that pitch there he never saw.
So Machado now with 3 hits in this postseason, and all of them big, all of them meaningful. 2-run homer to start the scoring in game 2. RBI double to start the scoring here. And the beat goes on The Dodgers riding the long ball. 14 of the 20 runs they've scored in this series have come off homers. You know, the other thing that's happened for the Dodgers today, the last 5 runs that they've driven in have come with 2 strikes.
That's a better sign, but also disciplined and not missing their pitch.
Chopper right side as the Albies throws him out.
See how he wanted it away in the middle end. That's just a swing plane. That is just absolutely what you got used to seeing in Baltimore and just about everywhere he plays. So Machado knows it. He's just glad the pitch was there.
Clayton Kershaw, who would happily start Game 1 of the National League Championship Series instead of Game 5 of this division series. Strike 1 on Kike Hernandez. That's the pitch that you wanted to Machado.
That's the pitch. I mean, again, it's not worth anything suggesting it if you don't feel confident you can throw it. And that's the difference.
Ball and a strike. You suddenly can hear a pin drop in here. Ball 2.
Part of the process. I mean, that's, you know, after a series is done, you always look at it in retrospect. This is what I would have done. This is what I could have done. And obviously in the heat of the moment, we talked about what was going to have to go well for the Braves to be able to knock off the Dodgers, and they still can rally. But it's moments like this where inexperience and a taxed bullpen starts showing itself.
It's a walk to Hernandez. Let's go down to Ken Rosenthal.
Well, do you guys want some prophetic words? I talked to Manny Machado before the game. He was 1 for 12 in the series, entering the game with 7 strikeouts. I asked him if he planned to change anything, and here is what he said. I'm going to keep being me. It's been my approach all year, my approach my entire career. I'm not going to change it now because I'm striking out a little more. I'm going to strike out. And here's the key part. I'm going to hit their mistakes, he said. They're going to make their mistakes, and I'll be ready. John, that's exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah, and that's just, they have a roster full of those guys, and there's nothing, you know, that speaks differently than when you accumulate 162 games worth of data. It speaks to that very, very subject.
It's going to do it for Sabatka as Snicker comes out. Running out of options down in that bullpen, finding his team in a 6-2 hole, with the Dodgers getting 2 in the 6th and 3 here in the 7th on the Machado home run. The Dodgers a few innings away from winning Game 4 and advancing back to the NLCS. Well, the postseason continues tonight in prime time. Red Sox and Yankees from the Bronx on TBS. And if the Braves can rally in this one, we'll have Game 5 from Dodger Stadium Wednesday at 7 Eastern on FS1. Joe Davis, John Smoltz, Tom Verducci, Ken Rosenthal. Manny Machado's 3-run home run has given the Dodgers breathing room as they get ready to face Julio Teheran, making his first appearance of this postseason for Atlanta. Opening day starter for the Braves for a 4th year in a row, but struggled again, although did finish well. Somebody they trusted to make this Game 4 start. He could strike one on Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, he's done a nice job for the Braves, and you know he goes about it a little different way in how he delivers the ball, creates an angle, sometimes gets underneath it, but he has been a mainstay here.
A sub-3 ERA over his last 10 starts. Overall, though, around 4. Quite what they expect out of their opening day pitcher, who they've been hoping could become the ace for years, and at times has been. He's been an all-star twice. Just lacking that consistency that they'd hope for. Hernandez at first. Bellinger swings and misses. 0-2. Got him.
Julio has not forgotten how to pitch, and he'll have to use an array of different ways to get these hitters out, not rely so much on that two-seam fastball. But it's imperative, of course, that he can keep it right here and see if the Braves can rally.
And what got lost in that Dodger rally, John, is Puig's bloop single. Just a little flare to right that it looked like either Albies or Markakis would catch. Wound up falling in, extending that inning. Getting Freeze to the plate, but the Dodgers ahead.
Well, it's going to sting for some of these guys going through this and having maybe not performed the way they want, but it's the greatest learning lesson they'll ever experience if they let that be the case, because these moments can define you one way or another, but they cannot. You can't let it consume you. You just got to learn from it and hope the next time you're in that situation, you'll be better for it.
No balls and a strike on Puig. There goes Hernandez. Puig takes a strike, throw down, won't get him. Hernandez in there safely.
We talked about how the Dodgers, what they've had to go through to get to this point, so nothing phases them. They're going to take advantage of every opportunity. And that includes stealing a couple bases, putting more pressure, try to add on.
Teheran trying to keep it right here. Home with an 0-2 to Puig. He chases one that bounces in front of the plate. Side retired. Manny Machado with a 3-run home run as we stretch in Atlanta. The Dodgers lead at 6-2. turning into a beautiful night here in Atlanta as the Dodgers have opened it up 6-2 here in Game 4 to the bottom of the 7th inning. And welcome inside Joe Davis with John Smoltz, and it's been such an emotional roller coaster the last couple of days. It's kind of an odd feeling now with one of the teams getting a bit of separation.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, there's obviously no shame in what the Braves have been able to do and how they're battling against the Dodgers, and there's no shame in the fact that the Dodgers have every expectation and pressure on them that they're the team that's supposed to win. So the way this game was being played had an advantage towards the Braves if it got crazier and had more chaos. But unfortunately, the veteran team and the players that have been successful all year took advantage of some mistakes that the young Braves pitchers had made.
Still not dead yet. 9 outs to work with. And the Braves, so much of their success this year has been in come from behind fashion, finding a way time and time again. They have one more rally in them.
And you know what? For the fan base here, that's what kind of drew them to this exciting style of baseball. It wasn't your prototypical beat you the same way twice. It was somebody would come up huge, 5-run rally in the 9th. You know, nothing came easy for the Braves this year. And talking to Brian Snitker, you know, 4-game winning streak followed by a 4-game losing streak, or just these different ups and downs, and that's the kind of process that they're going through to try to find out. At the end of the day, it's all going to be valued in the future.
That's a strike. 1-1 on Albies. Comes Pedro Baez. He's deflects it foul, 1-2.
The guy at the plate's a perfect example. Breakthrough first half, all-star, top of the world, right? Second half, not so much. League made some adjustments. He'll have to go in the offseason, whenever the season ends for him, and he'll have to look at what things he wants to do differently to adjust back to get to a little bit more of a consistency, because those 20 home runs in the first half caught a lot of people by surprise.
Led the National League in extra base hits during the first half of the season. Short count even, 2-2. Tone setter for these Braves for a lot of the year, especially in that first half. Brian Snitker talks about the fearlessness that Ozzie Albies plays with, and how so much of the team took on that personality and adopted his aggressive style. At just 21 years old, already a leader. On a 2-2 pitch, that's foul. And what a cool thing they have with Albies and Acuna, not just these young guys, but best friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a likable group these Atlanta fans have.
Yeah, and you know, the prospect of seeing them play for 5-6 years at least before they can test the waters.
Another 2-2. Bouncing ball right side. Hernandez knows how well Albies run, so charges and gets rid of it quickly for the first out. Talking about the success the Braves have had coming from behind this season. Since Brian Snitker took over a few years back, the Braves have more wins in their final at bat than any other team in baseball. This year, tied for the National League lead with 20 wins in their final at-bat. That included on opening day with Nick Markakis hitting a walk-off homer. Pedro Baez faces one batter here in the 7th, and Dave Roberts goes to Caleb Ferguson. Dodgers with 5 unanswered. They lead at 6-2. 1 win away from the NLCS. 1 gone here in the 7th. On comes the rookie Caleb Ferguson for Freddie Freeman. Oh, ball 1. Just a bit inside.
Close.
That is not the first pitch that he got from the left-hander last night. Alex Wood, he got a slider and hit it for a homer. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's another guy that future looks like he could be in the rotation for the Dodgers for years to come.
Hot shot on the ground, but Turner is there. Freeman's out number 2.
5 at 4-3.
Yes.
Is that how it goes?
Yep, you've got it.
I think I know this guy throwing out the first pitch today. Of course, did it for a long time and had a lot of success. One of the best all-time managers in the game.
Do you have a favorite Bobby story that's airable?
There's so many. It's the way he treated you and the way he understood how hard the game was, the way he fought for you, the way he got thrown out of the game for you. Ran the best spring training in the history of baseball.
Huh.
Simple, easy. Get your job, get your work, get in, get your work done, get out.
1-1 on Markakis. He just had a real good understanding for the grind of the season and what it would mean to.
The longer you stay out there, the more you're going to waste time, the more you increase injury, standing around, just killing time, making it look like you're doing something. I think I contributed to the no shagging rule, though, for pitchers.
Did you go too hard?
Oh, yeah. I was a crazy man out there. That's how I stayed in shape. Robbing home runs.
Scale on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, under control.
Sure. I'm just trying to picture somebody under control robbing a home run during MVP. How that could ever be under control. Markakis takes the ball. It's 2-2. Any diving plays?
Oh, yeah.
Shagging?
Oh, yeah. Control dives.
Sure. That one I can't picture either.
Well, I mean, limited speed, so it's not like you're going like the freeze out here.
No.
Sprinting on the track, beating everybody.
Little jam shot, center field. Bellinger makes a running catch. Does his best John Smoltz shagging impression. Bobby Cox, one of the all-time greats. The NLDS on FS1 is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball, and is sponsored by Hankook Tire. Chase down your passion, never halfway, and by Taco Bell. The sun is set here in Atlanta. It's setting in the Braves season. 6-2 Dodgers in the 8th. Matt Kemp to lead things off against Julio Teheran. Top of the first pitch up, right side, and out of play. Second inning of work for Teheran. Facing Kemp out of the 9 spot. One of the big hits of this series came today out of this spot. David Freese, the pinch hit 2-run single. That's in the dirt, 1-1. Game in the 6th. That bat started with runners at the corners. Puig then stole second, and Freese delivered with his base hit off Brad Brock to put the Dodgers in front. Machado would later hit a 3-run homer to extend the lead.
And there were a couple pitches in that bat that he laid off of to get to that point. Until you've been through it, and we documented how many games he's been through and how many big moments, your heartbeat stays slower and you're just able to handle the moment better. The guys who get anxious and expand the zone don't get those kind of hits until they slow it down.
And for more on the lead up to that hit, here's Tom.
Well, remember that stolen base by Yasiel Puig was an uncontested stolen base. Watch the middle infielders. They will not move. 2 outs. The tying run is on third base. The Braves have prioritized the runner on third. They like the matchup of the right-handed Brock on the right-handed Freese. What they want to guard against is the middle infielders vacating their position on the break of the runner. It's especially important because David Freese is an extreme ground ball hitter. So infielders hold their ground. Puig steals the base uncontested and scores what at this point is the go-ahead run to move the Dodgers on to the NLCS.
Count on Kemp. The Dodgers have not run a ton this year. They've run more as the year has gone on, really the last couple months, as much as any team in the National League. They picked their spots and did so wisely. Getting Puig into scoring position before that big swing from Freese. Chopper to third that backs up Camargo. Chance to throw off that arm, which is a really good one. 1 out.
I'm not kidding about a good arm. That's a rope over to first. Pretty good arm strength on his back foot. Had to back up to get the hop. Set. Fire to strike.
With 1 gone in the 8th inning, up comes Jock Peterson, whose wife Kelsey is due with their first baby in less than a couple weeks. Peterson yanks a base hit to right center field. He'll hustle his way towards second. Markakis with a throw. In time to get him. Not much argument from Peterson. 2-time Gold Glover Markakis with an outfield assist.
A good play all the way around. Jock Peterson tried to kind of. Looks like they are going to take a look at it, but Jock Peterson kind of lulled him in and then turned on the burst. That second look. Looks like he's safe.
Great look there.
Ooh, maybe not. Can you tell if it hit the toe, the back of the glove? Did it hit the toe first? One angle we had looked like it could have made that call. Watch the glove. Watch it. See it. The back of the glove looked like it hit the toe.
The crowd agrees with you. They just showed it on the video board.
Oh, I was going to say, they can't hear me in the crowd, can they?
Oh my gosh, this changes everything.
This really does change everything.
They got a big old TV here, John. They had a good view.
There you have it. This, the TV that they're seeing. I think the back of the glove catches his toe. You see the back of the glove will move. And I think he's going to be out. That's some HD for you right there. Is that the right terminology?
Replay review sponsored by Mitel. He sure is. 4K. What's it? No. HD.
What's next?
Who knows? Curved screens. He is out. Peterson trying to extend a single into a double, thrown out by Markakis. And, you know, we break this down in super slow-mo and spend a few minutes seeing, did he get him? Umpire does it in real time.
You could almost tell right there Peterson had to feel something was walking off the field. Dave Roberts told him, no, stay. We're going to look at it.
Doug Eddings with that call. Markakis always one of the best with that outfield arm. So 6-2 the score as Justin Turner comes up with 2 gone here in the 8th inning. Turner had a leadoff single last inning in front of the Machado home run. Strike 2. Kenta Maeda.
Braves had to extend themselves yesterday and expend a lot of energy to get that hard-fought win. And you could just tell with the early lead after 4 innings, the energy was spent to try and hold that lead.
Punches a ground ball to second. Albies good range to get there and finish the Dodgers in the 8th. Camargo, Flowers, and Enciarte. The Braves trying to rally one last time. Big swings for the Dodgers in this game coming from a couple of deadline acquisitions. Freese and Machado. 2-run single from Freese, 3-run homer from Machado, and now Kenta Maeda to the bottom of the 8th. His first outing of this postseason. One of the trusted setup men for Dave Roberts in front of Kenley Jansen. Misses with his first one to Johan Camargo.
He's done a nice job adjusting to this role and playing a huge part. Of course, a starter for most of his time with the Dodgers.
One-on-one.
I mean, the Dodgers were known there for a while having the most starters in all of baseball, period. I mean, they've accumulated an array of arms that have started for them over the last couple of years, and now pitching out of the pen.
So many of them that you have. Yeah, Kenta Maeda moved to the bullpen. You have a 2018 All-Star Ross Stripling move to the pen and then not make the postseason roster. You have a 2017 All-Star and Alex Wood who's been moved to the pen.
Yeah.
There's Stripling, who has been trying to stay fresh, had a simulated game form here in Atlanta yesterday. With thought of him perhaps joining the roster for the NLCS. It's Camargo starting the 8th for Atlanta and taking ball 2. Oh for 14 here in his first trip to the postseason. Rally caps. Got to get it just right. Two. One gone as the changeup disappears from Maeda. And the dynamic play of the game presented by Hankook Tire. Manny Machado. Sabaka had 2 strikes on him for what seemed like forever. And kept on going to that fastball, and on that one he made him pay.
Well, Machado maybe heating up as the next series approach, and looks like the Dodgers on their way to that. They just have so many guys that individually can carry the club in a series. Like, that's the difference when you look at their roster and you look at their lineup.
1 out Tyler Flowers. Pops one back and out of play.
I mean, Milwaukee, for all their lineup power, and they've got, you know, they've got nightmares for the pitchers that are going to face them as well. But you're talking about the Dodgers being able to slug their way. You know, the question will be, can they continue to slug their way without making runners in scoring position and, you know, contact at crucial times?
Conventional wisdom says that that's not a sustainable model to win a World Series.
Right. What have they hit? 8 or 9 home runs, 20-some walks, like 27 walks, something like that. And this has been a strange series when you think about formulas to try to, if the Braves were going to knock off the Dodgers, it wasn't going to be with 27 walks.
Right.
It was going to be that they could limit the damage over the wall, and that's what they did all year. They're one of the best staffs in keeping the ball in the park. But on the flip side, they were one of the worst stats walking guys. That's something they'll improve on.
The ball and 2 strikes on Flowers. That's foul, and we go down to Kenny.
John, the one thing is the game has changed, and we know this. We've seen it for a couple of years now coming, more than that actually. Home runs are king. We've seen it with the Yankees in their series. We saw it especially with the Astros, and look at this stat. Runs via the home run. Granted, it's a very small sample size right now, but 54.5% of the runs this postseason entering today have come via the homer. That would be a record if it holds, and I don't expect it to be much different the rest of the way.
Well, there's no doubt, Kenny. Is that ground ball? There's no doubt that that's part of the formula today, but still, when I look back at champions and I look back at the teams that have won it all, they've not been in the top in homers. What they've been in the top in is not striking out as much. That's still a component that matters. And if you strike out a lot and you hit a lot of home runs, you're talking about top flight pitchers that are going to expose that at this time of the year. And what the Astros did in 1 year proves to me what you can do. They took the strikeouts out of their lineup. They became one of the worst to one of the best, and they added obviously Justin Verlander. But it's going to be interesting to see. At some point, you would think a team is going to win that way, with a high strikeout, high homer, high walk rate. But it's yet to happen. Since I've been watching.
I mean, a team bludgeoning their way to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Kansas City Royals, another good example of a high contact rate, and then they got the power at the right time in the 2015 postseason. Ciarte takes a ball. It's 2-0. Now, it is worth mentioning the Dodgers, well, they get the all or nothing label. They're not an incredibly high strikeout team.
That's
middle of the pack.
That's the good blend. That's exactly what I'm talking about, because you can hunt for homers, but if you expand the zone and strike out a lot, it won't work.
And Ciarte with a base hit to right center. Bellinger cuts it off and holds him to a single. The Braves trying to mount something with 2 gone here in the 8th.
The Red Sox in the other league are another good example of power, blend, average, speed. Like, they have the most weapons. Whereas the Yankees have the most power, obviously, and set a record.
That's funny you mentioned the Red Sox having that blend. Of course, Alex Cora, their manager, came from Houston and brought that model, that high contact model, while also bidding for power.
It's funny to watch certain trends change, and they always will. You know, they had the work the count, get the starter out of the game, get into the bullpen. But nowadays, you don't want that to happen. The bullpens are so lethal with arms. You want to be able to take advantage of whoever's out there and beat them before you can try and beat bullpens. So it's changed a little bit. And that's, speaking of Alex Cora, that's exactly what he's changed over in Boston. Because from afar, he said, we saw you guys take too many strikes, free strikes. And you saw what happened with the rotation for Houston was able to do it. Now they've not been a drastic change, but changed it a little bit to improve that team.
And the Jansen warm in as Maeda gets a strikeout in Culberson. And if the Dodgers are able to hold this score and move on, that is going to be a fascinating matchup between Craig Counsell's bullpen, really Craig Counsell's whole pitching staff, against the Dodgers and their platoon system, the pieces that they have available off of the bench. 1-2.
And all signs look like that's exactly the approach they're going to have moving forward. I did not think or know if that can work long term when you primarily use 5 starters in 162 games and then you go down to 2. That's what makes this time so unique and must-see TV in October.
Culberson with an opposite field base hit. And the Braves say not so fast. Ciarte to third. First and third with 2 out. And Lucas Duda coming up. Duda announce. Rick Honeycutt bringing out the scouting report with Maeda's interpreter, Will Ireton.
Well, the Braves sneaky little pickup here in the August after the waiver move. They're hoping to pass the baton here and keep it going.
Normally they save the turn of the lights out thing for an actual pitching change. Do this one on just mound visit.
Pretty cool sight, though. And different technology. Back when I played, to turn the lights off, it took 25 minutes to turn.
Yeah, these things come on fast. All right, first and third, 2 out. It's been a while since Kenley Jansen has pitched. Seen Dave Roberts unafraid to go to Jansen for more than 3 outs. But here he allows Maeda to face Duda. The crowd senses this may be the opportunity for the Braves to stay alive. Ball 1. Looming on deck, Ronald Acuna Jr.
One more base runner, tying run comes to the plate. That's all you can ask, really.
On 1-0, Duda takes nowhere close. 2 balls, no strikes. Duda, the most experienced postseason player on this Atlanta roster. Goes back-to-back pennant runs with Kansas City. With New York, that's taken high. No swing, 3 balls, no strikes.
Ciarte can get like a 40-foot lead because of the shift. I mean, he could be having a conversation with Kenta Maeda almost parallel to him, because Turner's so far over because of the shift. Ciarte could just keep walking.
Distract you at all?
It would, yeah. It would be a little interesting when you think about seeing a guy you normally don't see right there.
3-1. Duda swings down the line. It is foul. A jolt into this ballpark and a scare into Dave Roberts and the Dodgers, but ultimately strike 2.
Duda crushed that ball. But they went inside, and just a matter now when he hit it, could it stay fair? And of course it did not.
Weak zone shot. Maeda retired the first 2 here in the 8th. Then Ciarte and Culberson with singles. A full count on Duda. If he reaches, Acuna comes up representing the tying run. Maeda's payoff. A pop fly into center field for Cody Bellinger. And Maeda is out of it in the 8th, keeping it 6-2. Atlanta's top back-end left-hander, A.J. Minter for Max Muncy. Strike one. Boy, it looked like it's going to be drama-free down the stretch, and then it was far from that in that 8th inning. Lucas Duda that close to making it a one-run game.
The Braves had a unique style of winning this year, and just together they've grown as a club because they've rallied. When you rally and win late, you always think you have a chance. You believe in each other, and each one passes the baton and tries to keep it going. They almost, like you said, almost brought it within one.
On a 1-1 pitch, Muncy swings and misses 1-2. The Braves will have the top of the order for the bottom of the 9th. Likely against Kenley Jansen, but as we've talked about, he's not been the same Kenley Jansen this year. One gone. So here's Machado with one gone. RBI double in the first and a 3-run homer in the 7th. Big rib, tried to homer for a second time today and came up empty. The Dodgers knew when they picked him up if they were going to make a deep postseason run, if they were going to have a shot to end the 30-year World Series drought, that he would have his stamp on it. Here, what they hope is the clinching game of the division series. He certainly has.
You always want to check in. You always want to do your part. You want to contribute. Obviously, he's come in and joined the Dodgers in the heat of a pennant race, coming from the Orioles, where everything went wrong for them this year. And what you got to try to separate, easier said than done, is you're looking at your looming free agency and where that's going to take you and where and how much. And
here comes Minter with a 1-2. Machado fouls it hard. Go to that dugout. Look out. That way, says Brian Dozier. Post-game show coming up. Kevin and the guys breaking down this Game 4, looking ahead either to a Game 5 or the NLCS. At this point, that looks like the more likely discussion for the guys in studio. We'll have interviews for winning side as well. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I feel sorry for D-Train, man. He's around sluggers galore. That's like, that is murderer's row of hitters.
How'd you like to face that lineup? I mean, and for you, let's put Dontrell in the lineup. He was a pretty good hitting pitcher. He's not a fun 9 to face. Full count. Three balls, 2 strikes on Machado. Jansen waiting for the bottom of the 9th. So they give out MVPs in the NLCS and in the World Series. They don't give one out in the division series. If they did, at this point, who would your MVP vote go to?
Oh, that's a good call. I mean, there's just, it's spread out, right? I mean, Max Muncy's had some huge hits. So is the guy at the plate. I actually don't know.
And then you have the performances from Ryu and Kershaw.
Right.
It's harder to do that when in the short series they pitch just one game at this point. But
that's why best of 7. That's when these come out.
Fly down the line. That'll fade into the seats. Kenny, what do you think? If you had a vote, who would it go to?
This is a difficult one, guys. I'm going to say Manny. Game 2 in this game.
Okay. Tom?
I'm going old school on you. How about a starting pitcher who goes 8 strong, shutout with no walks? Clayton Kershaw.
I like it. After his team moves him off game 1. Fly ball to deep center field, but not that deep. Inciarte for out number 2. Grandal to the plate. Braves led this game 2-1 after 4 innings. Pinch hit 2-run single from Kurt Suzuki, and this place was again rocking like it was last night. The Dodgers 5 unanswered runs. 2-run single from Freese in the 6th, and the 3-run homer from Machado in the 7th. Grandal turns on it, but foul.
Turns on it is a little. I don't think you'll ever see a ball hit over the stadium.
Did they go out of here?
Yes.
Wow.
That's almost impossible, honestly.
Because I know it's a cozy park, but it's stacked on top of itself. It's really tall. Launch angle of infinity. Still going. On a 1-1 pitch. Grandal watches it catch the corner. Dodgers 6, Braves 2. Top of the order coming up for Atlanta in the bottom of the 9th. With Kenley Jansen ready to pitch it. Swinging into the bottom of the 9th we go. It's Acuna, Albies, and Freeman coming up for the Braves against Kenley Jansen. All right, boys, 6-2 to the bottom of the ninth we go. Look forward to tuning in once this one finishes. The Braves trying to keep things going. Kenley Jansen trying to end it, send the Dodgers to the NLCS. He pitched in game 2. Picked up the save in that game, but has struggled over the last month and a half since dealing with the heart scare in early August. Top of the order for Atlanta, Ronald Acuna Jr. Strike one.
Well, irregardless of what happens in this inning, I think this home crowd is going to appreciate the year the Braves have had. If they don't rally, I think they're going to let them know with some cheers on what the future looks really, really bright here in Atlanta.
Chopper to third for Justin Turner, and Acuna's the first out. Dodgers will only go as far as Kenley Jansen allows them to. With as many good position players as they have, with as great as the starting pitching has been, they need him to be himself at the back end of things to end that championship drought. Here's Albies.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think the formula is going to be different for the Dodgers this year, though. Last year, they used their bullpen quite a bit. They had their set plans. They went with them. This year, they're going to ride their starters a little more. They'll cut down in between some of the usage of exposing their pen and hope that the depth of their rotation will win out over 11 games that you have to win the World Series.
Ball on a strike. It's going to be so much fun to watch those two teams match up, Milwaukee and LA.
Well, you know, when you think about the National League, everyone points to the American League dominance, but the American League dominance might have also a lot to do with a weaker American League. There was more teams that were going in the other direction. I think the National League storylines are interesting for what you just said, because you're talking about a scary Milwaukee team that from the 6th inning on can shut you down, similar to what the Kansas City Royals did when they went on to win the World Series. I just question a little bit if you don't get enough innings, do you tax that bullpen if it goes 6 or 7 and then you have to move on?
2 gone here in the 9th inning. Kenley Jansen gets Acuna to bounce out. He strikes out Albies. And Freddie Freeman comes up for Atlanta. They'll get a great hand from this crowd. Big swing for him in yesterday's game. First postseason home run. And his first trip back to the postseason since 13. He will continue to be a big part of what they do moving forward. Jansen ready. Here he comes. Ball 1. The Dodger team that won 4 in a row to finish the regular season, including game 163. 25-10 over their final 35 games. Really, when you look at it over that last month and a half, neck and neck with the Brewers as far as the 2 best teams in the National League. They're set to meet head-to-head with a trip to the World Series up for grabs.
And see, what worked out perfectly for the Brewers is the fact that they did take care of business in a quick fashion. So all that rest just resets everybody that they have on their roster to do the same thing moving forward.
Part of the reason why it's so big for the Dodgers to get it done today, not have to play in this series another 2 days, go back to a high-stress game 5. Here's a 1-1. Ball 2. And the Dodgers will be able to line their pitching up the way that they'd like. Clayton Kershaw is going to start game 5. Now it'll be interesting to see how they go game 1. Do they do Ryu again in game 1? Chuck swinging a ball low, 3-1. Or do they wait for Hyun-Jin Ryu to get back to Dodger Stadium, where he's been so good? Sub-1 earned run average in that ballpark. In case you'd likely go Kershaw in game 1 and Buehler in game 2. Freeman trying to extend it a little bit longer. 3 balls, 2 strikes. That's it. And for the 3rd consecutive season, the Dodgers advance to the National League Championship Series. David Freese, the go-ahead pinch hit 2-run single. Then Manny Machado with a 3-run home run to provide the insurance. And it'll be the Dodgers and the Brewers in the NLCS starting Friday night in Milwaukee. Hear the ovation these Atlanta fans give the Braves. They arrive a year ahead of schedule. They force a 4th game, but ultimately fall here to a team that was favored heavily.
And you know what? The Braves sitting in the dugout taking it all in, because at some point they want to do what the Dodgers have done on their field, and at some point they're going to advance. But the Dodgers, all about business, all about a World Series.
So the Dodgers take this National League Division Series 3-1 over the Atlanta Braves, 6-2 here in Game 4. Let's go to the studio now. More postseason coverage. KB, take it away, man.